Last Minute Laura. I'm Laura, and today I am starting another natural dye experiment. This one is going to be a little bit different though, and that's because I went to my local thrift store and I found something that I couldn't leave without. I found this blouse for $4 at my local thrift store, and I just loved it. I thought it's so whimsical and it's so light. It's like a double gauze, a really light, airy cotton. It's 100% cotton and it's in like new condition. And I thought, it's so pale white, it could really benefit from being dyed. So I went online, I did a little bit of research into natural dyeing cotton fibers, and I found that there's a little bit of a different setup than if we're dyeing wool. So make a tea, sit down, hang out, and watch me try and figure out how to dye this top with Goldenrod as best I can. Okay, so first things first, you're gonna need something to dye. If you're trying to copy me, do something super lightweight, 100% cotton, and preferably white. But you could dye over other colors too. So if it's beige or if it's like a soft yellow or something, it's fine. Just 100% cotton and really lightweight. That is what I'm going with today. You're also going to need something to dye it with. I'm going to dye mine in Goldenrod. It is in huge abundance around me right now. We are at the end of summer and the Goldenrod is blooming. The bees are buzzing around it, but there's tons. Don't worry, I only harvested what I need. So I've already got some of them in my pot on the stove. I just collected some to show you what I am working with. You're gonna need about, I would say, as much as you can pack into this basket, jam-packed full of yellow blossoms from Goldenrod. That's what you're gonna need to dye one blouse. You're also going to need something to scour the cotton fibers with. So cotton is a little bit tougher than wool and requires a bit more of a vigorous process before it's ready to absorb the dye. First, we have to transform this baking soda into soda ash, and I'll show you that process next. So you'll need either some baking soda or some soda ash. You're also going to need a big pot. You'll actually need two big pots. One for your garment to go in, and you'll need one for your dye stuff to go in, because it's a two-part process. One, you have to make the dye, and two, you have to prepare the fiber to accept the dye. So two big pots. You're also going to need some glovies, rubber gloves, silicone gloves, nitrile gloves, latex gloves, something that's going to cover your hands, keep them safe from any of the stuff that we're working with, and also just to keep your hands dry while you're handling wet stuff. And next, you're going to need cloths, towels, paper towels, stuff to clean up your mess. It's something that I always overlooked, and now I keep them right on my counter with me. I don't have them around the house. They're here, ready. You're gonna make a mess. It's gonna be messy. And last but not least, you're going to need some strainers, some measuring cups, and a couple of things like some ladles and spoons just to stir around your dye pot and your mordant or scouring pot. So that sort of stuff, kitchen stuff you're gonna need. So first things first, I want to get started with making the soda bicarbonate baking soda into soda ash. So to do that, we're going to need the big pot, and we're gonna need the baking soda, and I'll bring you in for the next step. Okay, so I've got the heat on this burner set to a medium-high setting, and now I'm going to add a whole bunch of baking soda into the bottom. I'm making more soda ash than I need for this one dye project because I know I'm gonna need some of it in the future. So I poured in all of the baking soda, and now I'm just going to spread it out on the bottom. You can see the texture. It's kind of gritty and sandy and a few lumps in there. So basically what we are waiting for here is for this to come sort of to a boil. The soda bicarbonate is going to heat up, and then carbon dioxide and water is going to be released in little gas bubbles, so kind of like boiling. The powder is going to kind of behave like a liquid once we get up to boiling. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I will show you what it's looking like when it heats up to that boil. While the baking soda is coming up to a boil, I'm going to add the Goldenrod to the big black pot on the stove. I'm covering it with water, and I'm going to bring it up to a low simmer. and then I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm gonna let it come all the way back down to room temperature, then I'm gonna turn the heat on again, bring it back up to a simmer, back down again. I'm going to do that maybe 4 times, so I'm not even going to be dyeing today. It's not gonna be dyed until tomorrow, so it's gonna be 4 different cycles of bringing it up to a boil, letting it cool down. It's just an experiment. I'm trying to see if it brings out more color by allowing it to cool down and heat back up and cool down. So we'll see. But yes, I'm gonna add my goldenrod to the pot now. Don't worry, I shook it really well this time, so there are absolutely no spiders that made it into my house with this goldenrod. You can see here at this side, those carbon dioxide bubbles are starting to come out, and the baking soda is getting way more sandy, like finer. It has like a finer grit. That's cool. Alright, so it's been a little while. I transferred the baking soda into a different pot because it was taking so long. Biker gang. It took a little while, but now the baking soda has been turned into soda ash. Hopefully, I have no way to be sure that it worked, but it has stopped making bubbly gaseousness. So I'm thinking that it's done. And what I'm going to be doing now is adding it to a big pot and then filling that up with water. Then I'm going to bring it up to a simmer and let this shirt simmer for several hours. Apparently cotton takes a long time to release all of its waxes and its oils. I don't know, whatever's in cotton that doesn't allow the dye to stick takes a little bit of time to rinse out. So I'm gonna get that started. I'm going to add my soda ash to the pot and fill it with water. Okay, so now the shirt is in the water with the soda ash, and I'm turning the heat off on my goldenrod dye pot. Gonna let it cool down, and I'll come down in about an hour to check on the shirt and maybe to turn the dye pot back on depending on how much it's cooled down. So I'll show you what they're looking like in about an hour. See you then. Okay friends, it's been a couple of hours now, and I'm not gonna lie, the shirt looks exactly the same. The water's a little cloudy. I know I said I'd show you what it looks like, and I'll show you, but nothing major. So I'm turning the heat up a little bit just to bring it to a simmer because it's kind of fallen down below a simmer. And I'm gonna turn the goldenrod back on, bring it up to a simmer, and then turn the heat off. I think that's gonna be it for today, and then I'm gonna turn the heat off on both and let them sit overnight because it's already about 5:30 here and I'm about to lose my beautiful lighting. There it is. Just sitting, being a white cotton shirt. It is feeling a little rougher now against my spoon. Maybe that's what the soda ash did. And the water's a little cloudy. Nothing too exciting though. So I'm gonna let it sit, turn the heat up, hopefully to bring it up to a simmer, and then I'm gonna simmer it for another hour, and then I'm gonna turn the heat off overnight just to let it sit until I'm ready to dye tomorrow. And for the goldenrod, I am just going to turn up the heat also, bring it up to a simmer, and then I'm going to turn the heat back off again. You can see even though the heat has been off for a couple of hours now, there's still quite a bit of steam. It's still pretty hot, but I'm still gonna just bring it up to a simmer one more time before the end of the day today. Anywho, I'm gonna simmer it a little while longer. So friends, I think that's gonna be the last update for today. I will see you tomorrow to finish the scouring of the cotton, pre-mordant the cotton, and finish working up that dye bath in the dye pot. And I think tomorrow by the afternoon we should be ready to get that shirt into the dye bath. And hopefully we'll get a beautiful goldenrod cotton shirt out of it. See you tomorrow. All right, it's the next day now. I'm gonna turn everything back on. I'm gonna turn both of them on to max just to get them up to a boil, or up to a simmer, I should say. The shirt looks the same because it's a white shirt. And the goldenrod, I mean, it's pretty saturated. I think probably one more bringing it up to a simmer, maybe two more. I'll do that today twice while we wait for this shirt to be ready to dye, and then I think we're going to be dyeing it today. So first I'm going to bring the shirt up to a simmer. Then I'm going to leave it at a simmer for an hour. Then I'm going to wash out the soda ash, and then I'm going to get started on pre-mordanting it. I'm going to be using alum today. So stay tuned. Also, check out these pretty flowers I picked from in the garden. These are hosta flowers and they smell like lilacs. And these ones, I don't know what they're called, but they're pretty in pink, so you're welcome. See you in a little bit. Okay friends, so this has been simmering now for about 2 hours this morning, and I'm going to turn off the heat one more time for this goldenrod, and then it's going to be ready to dye the shirt. It's so pretty, the color. Let me find something transparent. Look how gold that is. It's so bright. It's gonna be such a pretty shirt. And the shirt is ready for its next stage too, which is going to be washing out the soda ash, which I'm going to do in the sink, and then getting the mordant bath ready. So I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons of alum to this pot, and then filling it with water, bringing it back up to a simmer, and adding the shirt back in. And that's gonna sit there for probably an hour or 2. I'm gonna check online. But that's the next step, so let's do it. Oh my god. The water is like dirty. So now the alum has been added to the dye bath, or to the mordant pot, whatever. And now I'm gonna sit it here. I'm gonna put it on high heat, let it come up to a simmer, and then I'm gonna simmer it for about an hour. And that last hour will be for the goldenrods to just cool down a little bit. And then we're gonna finally dye the shirt. See you then. All right, friends, this has been going for over an hour now in the alum. And now what I am going to do is pour out some of the alum water. I'm gonna save it for a future dye bath. And then I'm gonna use this pot and strain the goldenrod right into it. So first I'm gonna pull out this shirt and just place it in the sink. Okay, so now I'm going to strain out the contents of that goldenrod bath. I've got a piece of fabric that I'm going to use as my strainer, and some strainers like colanders. I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in the bottom to cool down the pot first though. So now we've got a full pot of the goldenrod dye liquid, and it's so yellow. It doesn't even show up at all on like looking in the pot, but I'll bring you in for some close-up with it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add the shirt, which is soaked. I didn't rinse out the alum. It's still, some of it's gonna be still in the shirt. And now I'm just gonna add the shirt to this dye bath. Look how yellow it is. It's gonna be so pretty. And now now I'm going to turn the heat back on this pot, and I'm gonna let this shirt come up to a simmer again, and then I'll turn the heat off and leave it for the whole day and probably overnight, because I want as much of that yellow to make its way into those cotton fibers. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I'm excited for you to see the final look of this because the camera is definitely blowing out the color right now. It's so much yellower than I bet it looks. Okay, and I'm gonna just dip my sample sheet for my bullet journal. And now it's gonna sit there, come up to temperature. Ugh. This has been simmering for a little bit now, so I am going to turn the heat off. Wow, is that ever a nice color? It's got a bunch of different colors. I don't know why that happened, but I'll probably love it, so it's all good. I'm going to turn the heat off now and leave it overnight to cool down in the dye bath. Hopefully we'll get lots of nice yellows out of that, some golds. And maybe we'll do a modifying after bath with wood ash once it's done, but we shall see. For now, heat off, lid on, and see you tomorrow. Alrighty, it's the next day now. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had stuff to do today, so I haven't gotten to this yet, but the yellow on here is looking pretty freaking magical. So I think I'm gonna take it out now and give it a good wash. I think that I don't want to do any after baths. It looks like the color deposited pretty randomly and it looks pretty cool. I'm excited to see it. So I'm gonna just zoom you out now so that I can wash off this shirt and get it ready to hang outside to dry for the rest of the day. So the next shot should be the final reveal.